Hey everyone, Dan here. We are about an hour after market close on Monday, July 19th. We're going to take a look at Clover Health. Before we get into it, if you enjoy these videos, please hit the like and subscribe button. It helps a lot. And also keep in mind that these are my own thoughts, opinions, ideas. They are not trading or investment advice. Please do your own due diligence and make your own decisions based on your own situation. All right, so Clover, this is the daily chart here. We see all the ins and outs of the craziness of the price action. Today, we pulled in a 1.22% gain to the upside on just shy of 20 million in volume. That's a fraction of a percent of, or I guess a fraction of the average volume for the last 3 months, which was nearly 55 million. And that said, it feels like a big win today, to be honest, for Clove to gain almost 1.25% on a day when we saw the markets really take a tumble. Quite a spread here, but everything basically falling between 1 and 2% down. So Clove to be the inverse of that, falling between 1 and 2% up, definitely feels nice in my opinion. Now, what I'm going to be looking for, if we're going to sort of see if Clove can actually have something that looks like outperforming happening moving forward, is volume. Really, really need volume in my opinion. Let's bring in the volume and zoom in a bit so that we can see what's going on. So obviously a bunch of that 3-month volume average that we have that's over 54 million is largely skewed by all this craziness here. But even I would like to see it come back to these sorts of days here. To me that would sort of like make quite a bit more sense. This is still over 100 million, but what I would like to see as we sort of kind of try to figure out how much upside there is to Clove here, obviously what you're looking at on the chart are my targets. This 1708 level is what I'm considering as low support. This 861 is the first resistance zone that we're going to hit, but could quickly flip that to support. And then I see these 3 little boxes here as sort of sticky points along the way. But what I'm really looking for is that first price target of 1325 before we head into the 16s and then the 17s. But again, what's going to be needed to get there, in my opinion, is much, much, much higher buy volume, obviously. And so I want to see green candles that are rivaling something like this, or even like this definitely wouldn't be bad. This is in the, just shy of 100 million basically. But I think it's going to take that level of volume and interest if we want to get here in any sort of like, relatively reasonable time frame. Otherwise, it could just sort of like stick itself around these levels for a very, very long period of time. It already feels like it's been, an extended period of time since it's had this big sell-off after that short seller report came out, and then, it got additionally beat down. I guess that initial beat down was back here, but then we had the nice run up from the interest in retail, which was driven by this huge buy volume, and then the sell-off popping us back down. So that's mostly what I'm focused on at the moment is, when does the volume come in? We see the order flow here, even on these green days, big, large outflows continuing to pour in 3.77%. This as almost as much of an outflow as any days in the recent past. Yet, we're able to be picked up quite significantly, even though the small and the medium orders are basically on par with each other. There's not really anything that's a huge difference there. So these things tell me that there might be some solid buying pressure coming in, or at least sort of like waiting on the sideline ready to jump in. Now, if let me like zoom back out here again so that I don't feel so scrunched. There we go. On the MACD side of things, I'm going to be looking for this bearish momentum to continue to die down. We saw it pick up, and then, basically just now it's starting to make a smidge of an inkling that we could be closing the real estate between the MACD and the signal line, giving ourselves a bullish crossover and giving us plenty of room to the upside if CLOV is able to take it, there's a lot of room to run, as you can see. I mean, not just on the the price chart, but also on the MACD, being that this is under the baseline at the moment. Now, I'm going to be looking for that to play interconnectedly with the RSI. What I'm mostly going to be looking at is how does the RSI, if it does make a nice move up, hold the midline. So right around here, right around the 50 mark, can it come up and breach the 50 and hold over it? You see here, as it loses support in the midline, that's when it tends to either make a nice push up if it overcomes it, get itself an overbought, or if it can't hold it and it falls through, and then it comes down into oversold or much, much closer to oversold territory. So, those are a couple of things that I'm going to be looking for in the near term, but really, really focused on that MACD, bringing in the bullish crossover to kick things off. Now, the MAs obviously all holding over the price actions. We are obviously in a bearish situation at the moment. But basically, if we can get an establishment basically over this box here, basically over the $10 mark, then we should be nearing ourselves to a sort of like commonly defined trend reversal, which would put the price action over the 200 MA, would then be considered in a newly bullish trend. See if you can hold it at that point is always the question, right? But that's going to be sort of like another test, is what happens as it comes to sort of interact with these MAs. We see in recent price action, as it's tried to hold them or as it's fallen underneath, it pretty quickly loses that battle and then sells off quite significantly every time it loses battle with an MA trying to establish it as support. So the extent to which that it can get support there, then in my opinion should act as equally strong support if it does then come back down and test it and sort of get an opportunity to bounce off of it. Now, taking a look at what happened today, so Ortex is reporting the short interest peeled back a little bit, 8.38% down. Still current short interest percentage of the free float at 23.78%, very, very high. And then the utilization still remaining very, very high. So I wouldn't obviously let this minus 8% fool anyone and think that like shorts are kind of closing up shop and going home. I don't see that as a thing that's happening at all. I think they're trying to jump on the back of this sell-off and just sort of like continue to push it down. Now, we obviously have to be careful because we've been faked out several times before, right? With something like this here. We had this green candle. I don't need to draw a box around all of them, but we had this one here. There's so few and far between. This one here and this one here. Now, this one in terms of like the actual structure of the candle is potentially a little bit more solid. You see the tall wicks here, so sort of indicating that there was a lot of sell pressure as it reached those higher prices intraday. And then this one is basically on the midline, right? So it's the upper wick and the lower wick seem relatively equal in size. And now today you see certainly the lower wick is longer than the upper wick, indicating that there was a lot of buy pressure. Now we are significantly lower in price than we were at any of these areas, so it is a good thing that there's buy pressure coming in somewhere, but that's where I'm going to think there's going to need to be a strong kick up in volume to continue to build buying pressure and strength in the stock to be able to propel us even back to that $10 range. I mean, at this point, that is a large percentage gain. And so in order to see that propulsion, the volume is going to have to be there. That to me is sort of the most important thing. Now, not only did CLOV outperform the market today, but we look here, there's some of these ETFs that hold CLOV. We grab the one with the highest weighting, XHS. I have that puppy here somewhere, XHS, and this is an ugly chart on the daily, but don't mind the chart, but this is the S&P Healthcare Services ETF, beautiful name. Oh, it's even better on the 5-minute, but anyway, this was down almost a percent here, 0.75%, again, versus CLOV's up almost 1.25%. So I'm hoping that this is a good signal that enough of the beating down has happened, that there's not a lot of sentiment across the board feeling that CLOV is still overvalued, has a lot of price action to be pushed back on. Now, the extent to which the shorts distort the perception of that and then force further selling off is certainly going to be the question. But, we'll sort of see what happens in the days to come. But I think this is as good of an opportunity as any in the recent past, especially since this big sell-off occurred, that we could see some significant calling back here. We could see it establishing itself on a price floor at or just above that 708 and bringing in some strong buy volume. That to me is going to be the biggest question, as I'm saying now for the 12th time. Can the buying pressure come in and be recognized as clear volume that's standing out on the chart? That's what we need, in my opinion. Well, that'll do it for this one. If you're enjoying me covering CLOV more often, please let me know in the comments. I'm sort of on the lookout for an additional stock to cover more frequently. As you know, I cover SoFi daily. That's going to continue to be the case. I cover Palantir every Monday. That's going to continue to be the case. But I'm looking for sort of like my next additional power stock. Like, what are folks interested in? Where does my analysis resonate in terms of, folks who watch those tickers videos and that sort of thing, and certainly it's not everywhere, trust me. Probably more low interest than high interest. I sort of have the short interest on some of those tickers, but anyway, bad dad jokes coming into play now. But if you're interested in seeing me cover CLOV more often and do these types of analysis, do additional bigger deep dives into some of the data, which I know we didn't really cover in this one, but can certainly play a factor if I'm covering this more frequently, I'd be happy to do that. But let me know if the interest is there in the comments. I would appreciate it. All right, well, thanks a bunch for watching. I hope your trading week got off to a good start, and I will see you in the next video.